Welcome back, everyone. Our next lecture is titled Modern Command Line Tools We Are Getting Rusty. Please welcome Leyrer.
Thank you. Hello and welcome. My name is Leyrer. If you can't pronounce it or if you're not sure, Martin also works, or hey you, or whatever, it's fine. I would like to give a quick thanks to the organizers for having me again. I don't know why, but apparently I'm doing something right. Who here has seen a lecture of mine before? A few new ones. Excellent. Welcome. My name is Leyrer. That's the hashtag if you want to put something out on Mastodon or on the other platforms. If you have been here before in one of my lectures, I do have to apologize for one thing. Usually at my lectures, I give out Mannerschnitten for questions. So this is, I like audience participation, I like questions during my talks. Usually I reward them with Mannerschnitten. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of chaos in the last few days in Austria due to the weather and everything. So I was preoccupied with other stuff, so I actually forgot to bring Mannerwaffen. So if you're asking a question, you will not get a Mannerwaffel this year, but next year, please find me and you will get your Mannerwaffel next year for your question. If you have a question, please wave one of your extremities or let your neighbor wave for you, and a wonderful person with a microphone will come to you, so we have the question for the recording as well. That's the only housekeeping I have. Otherwise, again, I do apologize for not bringing enough Mannerwaffels. So, modern command line tools. Why do I do these talks? This is, I think, I haven't actually counted. I think it's the sixth talk or something like that I give about modern command line tools. Because I'm getting old. And there's one bad thing about getting old. You're getting stuck in your ways. Douglas Adams, the author of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a book I highly, highly recommend you read, or hear the audiobook, said this thing about getting old. Anything that is in the world when you were born is just normal, it's regular, you just know it. Who here was born after 2000? Few people probably, yeah. So the internet for you and mobile phones and mobile internet, that's just normal for you. It has always been there, you grew up with it, you know it. I grew up without internet, we had nothing, basically we had nothing, but don't get here. So everything that was there when you were born is normal and regular. Everything that was invented until about you get 30, 40, 35, that's new, that's exciting, that's interesting, that's something you can build a career on. And everything that gets invented after you're 40 is just against the normal order of things and should be forbidden, right? So, and that's the mindset I try to get myself around with giving these talks, by looking at new stuff, looking at new tools, looking at new features and gadgets to play around with. So this time I'm talking about command line tools that are built with Rust, the programming language. If you're into Rust programming, I have to disappoint you. I'm not talking much about the program language and the code. I can write code, but you don't want me to write code. The selection is also, again, I have to emphasize this. I'm old, I'm grumpy, I'm biased. So this is a biased curated list of stuff I find interesting or that entertained me, and I hope it will entertain you. Basically, all the tools are built on the Unix philosophy as defined by Doug McElroy back in 1978. So yes, I was already born at that time, unfortunately. And the Unix philosophy basically says, write programs that do one thing and one thing only, but that thing should be done very well. Write programs that work together, so you pipe them together, and basically you handle the data from one program to the next through text. So that's the Unix philosophy, that's what we're talking about. That's my selection. So if it's NPM based, if it's using AI, if it's using cloud services, whatever, it's not in this list. There are tools, you will find them. I will give you links afterwards, but it's not in here. So basically, if it has less than 32% of Unix philosophy, like a lot of the systemd stuff, you will not find it here. So, we are getting rusty, as I said before. First tool, but. But is basically a cat clone with wings. So all the cat people, I'm sorry, we have a better tool. Still wear your cat ears, it's fine. Cat is again written in Rust. It's a syntax, it's basically outputting text with syntax highlighting. It automatically recognizes a lot of languages, so it will do syntax highlighting for you, so it will be colorful, it'll be very colorful for most of the programming and markup languages, like Markdown, HTML, etc., etc. It supports Git. I will get to that in a second. And it has, per default, a pager built in, so it will use less as a pager, so it will not just scroll by your screen like crazy. It will stop after one page, but the first thing is you can disable that through the configuration, and the second thing is, and this is also, apart from being very clever with colors, these Rust-based tools are also very clever in recognizing in what context they are running. So if BAT recognizes I'm not running in interactive mode in a terminal, but I'm getting piped to another program, it will not page, and it will just behave like cat and will just spill out all the text. So what does it look like? Basically, it gives you, if you bat text.md file, it will give you nice line numbers. So for references, if you're on a call with someone else, that's helpful. Again, it will do syntax highlighting, as you can see, very nice. And it pages, as I said before. The Git interaction, that's the small tilde on the left-hand side. You can hopefully can see. So it will communicate with Git and will show you modifications in respect to the index. As I said before, plus and tilde, so added and removed, etc. So you have some interaction with Git as well. And it will also, which is also quite useful if you're working with stuff that is where white space is relevant, like programming languages like COBOL or Python. It will give you also non-printable characters, so you can see, oh, I have an additional blank here. Oh, there's an additional blank at the end. That's quite useful. I like it. So BAT is one of the tools I actually use in my daily work if I can. Not always, because I'm consultant, so I have to work with a lot of customer machines where I'm not allowed to install additional software, but on the machines where I'm allowed to install, BAT is one of the tools I actually use. While we're talking about text files, what we also quite often need is some sort of diff. So what's the difference between two text files? Where's the diff? For that, we have the diff-tastic, which again is written in Rust. It compares files based on their syntax. So it's not a stupid, I compare line by line, and is this line the same as in the other file, but it will actually understand the syntax. And it also understands nesting, which sounds, okay, why do I care? But it's actually quite useful. Again, it's also very colorful. And in this case, you can see in that JavaScript file, I do apologize for the JavaScript, but I think we can handle. It understands nesting, so it highlights the if-free, the curly brackets. It understands, diff-tastic understands which lines should be aligned, so it won't highlight lines that are actually the same, even though they are not exactly the same. And it also understands line wrapping, as you can see with Yvonne and Eric, that are shown as a difference because although they are in different lines, etc. So again, diff-tastic, very, very nice, very, very useful tool. Moving on from text files to files and directories. A lot of the Rust tools are also very disk-oriented. At least that was my impression when I looked through the list. A lot of stuff was based on disk management. So one of those tools is Sockside. Again, I didn't mention, I'm from Vienna, Austria, so my main language is German. If my pronunciation of one of these tools sounds strange to you, yes, that might happen. I do apologize. Educate me afterwards or raise your hand if you think it should be pronounced differently. I'm always happy to learn how to pronounce stuff correctly. So Sockside is a CD command that is inspired by set and auto-jump. Yes, it's set and not C. C is a different character, the Americans. So inspired by set and auto-jump. So basically what it does is it remembers where you have been, so you don't have to give it the full path the next time you want to change into a directory. Very useful, if you're lazy like me, I do like this feature. It works with all major shells, so bash, C shell, fish, whatever. C shell, I don't know. TK shell, well, if that's your kink, it's fine by me, but I haven't tested it. What does it look like? You CD into a directory. I'm talking a little bit too fast for the example. So you jump into the foo directory and give it the set. And next time you set into foo directory, it will remember where you have been. And even if you have two directories with foo, you still can differentiate. It still can differentiate between the directories. You can just do a tab and switch between the different foo directories until you find the one you found. Yes, this leads to exactly the same thing as the XKCD cartoon, where you up 200 times to find the one CD command. Yes, it's just like that. So that's Sockside. It's a nice tool. Some people like it, others just don't see the reason in it, but it's a nice tool. Something that is really, really interesting is XCP. Of course, the Germans are making a ruckus again. Hello and welcome. XCP is a partial clone of the Unix CP command. So we know there's a POSIX standard where they define what command parameter options you have to have. XCP is not a complete clone or a complete implementation of that, but a partial clone with a focus on user-friendliness and speed. So one of the things that we are all missing from CP is the progress bar. We're getting now in the GNU tools, but still a lot of tools, a lot of implementations don't have it. So XCP has a progress bar. And it's optimized for modern systems. So if you remember POSIX, that's all back from the 70s, so when I was born. So there was no multi-processor, multi-core, multi-channel architectures, whatever. It was just a single CPU, and that's how the applications were written. XCP is written with multiple cores, copious amounts of RAM. So we are talking about megabytes, not megabytes or kilobytes, but gigabytes, terabytes of RAM, and modern disk drives, so no rotating Rust, but proper SSD or NVMe drives in mind. And it has been aggressively parallelized for systems with parallel I/O, so it's a lot faster than the CP program you may know. Just to give you an impression, progress bar, yes, we are getting there, we're getting there. As I said before, we have a lot of disk-based systems written in Rust. One of them is called disk. Yeah. Rust people apparently like wordplays and play with words, so we have a lot of interesting names. It's a Linux utility to list your file system. It's similar to df, or it's thought to replace df. And as I mentioned before, the Unix philosophy is all about interaction through text files, so you pipe the output of one program to the next application. If you're talking to a millennial or the Generation Z programmer or system administrator, that concept is for them not really up to date and they don't really get it. They are used to handle JSON files. So what they expect is that every application outputs JSON file, and Disk is doing just that. It gives you a nice JSON data structure that you then use JQ, for example, to pass further on. It gives you disk space of physical devices as well as file systems, so that's a difference to DF. You can actually figure out what, if you have def mapper, UUID something, that this is actually your root directory, it will show you that information. Also, this comes default with the SE or SI currencies, so 1 megabyte is 1 million byte, not 1,000,02040. So if you want kikibyte or mebibytes or TB-bytes, there is a command line option for that. So for the old timers that want the proper units, there is a way to get that as well. Again, this is the output, so it's nicely formatted for a human. It's badly formatted for a machine to parse. But we have nice colors, you have labels, you have the file system, you have the file system type and everything. So it's a nice tool, I like it. And as I said before, if you prefer a machine-readable format, there is the option to get JSON. Yes, you can parse that into XML or YAML or whatever, but that's I'm leaving that up as a training exercise for you. So next year, do a talk about how you can transform that into other formats. I would love to see that. 30 minutes tops. Would really love to see that. Again, we're still stuck with the disk-based systems. So we have Dust. It's like DU, but more intuitive. It has, and again, this is a theme that goes through all the Rust written tools. We learned a lot since the 70s, so we have a lot more sane defaults set in these tools. We have less error messages. So if you have ever run DU as a non-root user, you're used to getting like 1 million messages of did not have permissions to read that directory or that file, and you get that like 1 million times. Dust will only show you that once, because that's enough. Okay, I now know that I don't get all the information. That's more than enough. Thank you very much. So you get a lot less error messages, and you actually get a nice useful output with different colors for the tree hierarchy and disk usage. And you will see which directory will take up the space on your disk, and if you delete that directory, what other data will be lost as well. So that's a nice feature. That's a nice tool. There are a lot of seats over here on this side. So but I'm not only looking over there. So I always catch you as well. If you're not paying attention, no. There will be a test at the end. Did I mention that? Yeah, so again, nice tool. Do the colors come across on the screen? Yeah, probably. Decently, yeah. Right, so we are still not done with the disk-based tools. There's ERT3, or ERT in short. It's a file system and disk usage utility. Again, with all the Rust tools, usually they respect hidden files and they use git ignore rules. It's somewhere in between DU, LS, and all the other tools. The nice thing is it supports regular expression searching in a sane way, and comes with several layouts. Again, lots of colors, lots of layouts. It's a nice thing. Looks like this, quite useful, quite neat, quite impressive. Of course, we also have a tree view, which on this display is rather useless, but yeah, it's nice. It's nice. And tree view is always nice. Who of you has ever used find on the Linux command line to find a file? Who cursed while using that? I see 2 hands at once. Yes, I feel you. So I have good news for you. There's a Rust-based tool with same defaults, surprisingly. So there's FD. It's a simple, fast, and user-friendly alternative to find. It has pardon me? We were coming to that. It has sensible and, like me, opinionated defaults. It respects hidden files and git ignore rules. You see, there's a theme between all these tools. They're all behaving similarly. It supports regular expression searching, but in a sane and useful way. And of course, the killer feature here is the command name is 50% shorter than that of find. I love that. That entertains me, so deal with it. How does that look like? Very simple. So you have ft netfl. And it will give you the Netflix MDB script that you wrote 5 years ago and can't remember the name anymore. So that's there. Second example is you want to search, you want to have as a regular search, so the file should begin with an X, should be followed by should begin with a small x, should have a dot, and then something, a dot star, so something between x and at the end of the file name it should have rc, and surprisingly it actually finds the proper stuff. So if you don't know regular expressions and you want to give me a talk on regular expressions next year, let me know and we can talk about that. And one of the main, so where's that MD file I wrote? Where's that doc file I wrote? So one of the most common uses for find is I want to find a file with a certain extension. FD has a command line option for that, so minus small e will only search for the extension of that file. Sorry, Mac users, you don't have file extensions, you don't get that feature. Another tool you probably heard about before is ripgrep. If you haven't heard about it, play around with it. Ripgrep or RG, it's a line-oriented search tool. It's really fast. It's really fast. Again, it respects hidden files and git ignore files, surprisingly. And if you look at the GitHub page, at the Microsoft GitHub page, sorry, at the Microsoft GitHub page of ripgrep, it's really fast. This was this example searches the entire Linux kernel tree, source tree, after running a make def config and make j-8 for anything containing suspend, basically. The timings were made on an Intel i9 with 5.2 gigahertz, and it took a ripgrep 0.08 seconds to find all occurrences, which is basically twice as fast as everything else you can throw at that challenge. So if you have a lot of data, it really pays off to spend some time getting familiarized with ripgrep. It's really fast. You can, of course, always do your own benchmarks. Benchmarks are only as good as the person who wrote them and what they wanted to get out of them, so yeah. But we're not done with file-based tools yet. It's unbelievable. There's ESA, or Easy. It was called Easy earlier on. They changed the name to ESA. It's a replacement for LS. Again, why LS works? Yeah, but we get better defaults. We get more colors. Again, Rust is all about colors. It works recursively, and it supports Git again. So you get different colors for different file types. You get mount point details, something you don't get out of LS. You get Git repo status output. You get SE Linux context output. So it's really a really useful tool. And of course, you get bright terminal colors that you can actually read even in the sunlight. On the machines I have control over, I replaced LS with ESA. If you don't like ESA, because there are still some issues being worked out, there's also an even more colorful version, surprisingly, called LSD. Yes, the name is really fitting. It's a rewrite of ls, surprisingly again, and the main feature is colors and icons and the tree view. So the nice thing about it is it looks quite nice. You can get more colors out of it, trust me. And there's even a script there if you want to switch between ESA and ls. Moving on from the file-based tools, I also have a prox for you. That's basically PS, process information for you. Again, colorful output, human readable, nice layout. It has theme detection, so if you have a dark theme, it will match the colors to match the dark theme. If you have a bright theme in your console, you get different colors. You can do a multi-column search through the keyboard. It has pager support. It has a watch mode, so like tail -F, so you can actually keep it running and it will automatically update with new information on the processes. It has a tree view. And it also knows about Docker or Podman. So if you're working with containers, you even get information about the containers that the process is running in, which is nice. I have a screenshot for that. So that's prox, that's the regular prox output on a dark. Okay, remind me next year that I prepare the slides with a white background. I think that will work better. There's also, again, the tree mode. And I zoomed in for the Docker information, so you get your PS output where you get actually which container contains which executable, so you know which container to kill because that one is misbehaving. It's quite handy if you need to kill something. Talking about killing stuff, of course we all know the read mail really fast command. There's of course a Rust implementation of that called RIP. It's a command line deletion tool to delete files. The thing here is it doesn't actually delete the files, but it sends them to a graveyard. So you basically can do, so for the regular, oops, I didn't want to delete that, you have an undo now. It's not implementing the XDG trace specification, but it's working in a similar way. Yes, a question, wake the Herald up. He will bring you the mic.
Why not?
Ask the developers, open a ticket. I don't know, it's a design decision. And it's made for lazy people, so a lot of same defaults again. To give you an impression what this looks like, you rip a file, it gets moved to the, it will send the file to the graveyard. You can then inspect the graveyard, which is basically your trash can on your if you're still using a graphical user interface, it's similar to the trash can. And you can then undo everything. And as I said before, it's a tool for lazy people. So if you do a rip -su, it will restore, or it will automatically restore everything that a -s would show you. So basically, for the oops, I did it again moment. Has any one of you ever tried to rename multiple files that have a similar naming structure? I see nodding heads. Yes, okay. Again, good news for you. There's SD, search and displace. It's a find and replace a command line interface tool. It has, that's the marketing text. I wouldn't call regular expressions painless. They are powerful, but you have to pay a price for it. It's like if you get a multi-tool, right? Leatherman or Swiss Army knife. Unless you cut yourself with it, it's not your tool. Same with regular expressions. Unless you hurt yourself with a regular expression, you don't understand them. It also has a string literal mode. So basically, I don't have, whatever you see in that string is actually what I want to see. Don't interpret it, don't make a regular expression of it. This is exactly what I mean. That's what they mean with string literal mode. I would love to have that with a lot of other command line tools. And again, it has smart common sense, that's debatable, defaults. To give you an impression, usually you use set or something like that. So here's a set versus SD comparison. So if you want to replace before with after, it's just SD blank before blank after. Simple as that. If you want to replace new lines with comma in a file, easy. I mean, the set syntax is really bad, right? The SD syntax makes more sense. And in-place modifications of files also a lot easier with SD. Sorry, I mixed SD up with another tool that will come in a minute. So it's text in files, not file names, text in files. Right. So I'm way too fast. Fortunately, I'm prepared and have some bonus content. I was counting on more questions, but apparently without Mannerschnitten, there are no questions. It's I learned that the hard way. Thank you. So, what's the definition of a system administrator? System administrator is a person that looks as a screen as the log files scroll by, right? So usually you do a tail, but of course there's a better tool called tailspin written in Rust. And it not only shows you the log files, but it also highlights important information. And the nice thing here is it highlights quite a bunch of information that you usually want to see highlighted per default. So numbers, dates, IP addresses, UUIDs, URLs, automatically get highlighted so you can recognize them easily. Everything is, of course, customizable, and you have scroll back, search, and filtering as you have with tail or less. By the way, if you haven't looked at the man page of tail, do it. You can actually filter stuff in tail if you haven't known. It's a very nice feature most people forget. So, tailspin looks like that. As you can see, if you have if you have to work with Tomcat or WebSphere, you even get error messages and warnings highlighted in different colors, which makes it really easy to see all the Java Java traps rushing by as Java crashes on you time and time again. I like it. It's a nice tool, useful. Any one of you? Again, system administrators are looking at log files. What do you do if, so you're testing something. You have a window open, you're probably using Tmux. If not, I can do a talk on Tmux again. If not, there's also a recording of it. You have one window open where you have the log file running with tail -f, and in another window you have a command that you send to the server, and you're waiting for the log file to appear in the log, right? So what do you do to distinguish the output from your command to all the log noise that you have seen before? What do you do usually? You hit return multiple times, like half of the screen, until half of the screen is empty, right? There's a nicer solution for that. It's called spacer, and it inserts spaces when the command output stops. So you have a command, you have the output stops, there's your space. It's a line, the nice line. And it recognizes, okay, the output of that command stopped, and it will enter you, and it will automatically enter a line. Don't laugh, this is useful. Do you want to sit and, like an ape and press enter 20 times to see what's happening? No. Here we are. All right. What's the most common enterprise database used in companies, in enterprises?
Excel.
Oracle, Excel, any other takers? So with Excel, what's the next common data? So Excel is absolutely the correct answer, thank you for that. What's the most second commonly used data exchange format for structured data? For non-structured data, it's either Word or PowerPoint, but for structured data, if you don't have an XLS file, it's a CSV file. Exactly, thank you very much. You will get your commission afterwards. So if you have to work with CSV files, there's CSV Lens, which is a command line CSV file viewer. It's like Less, but for CSV files, and it's actually really, really, really nice. So we have a list of Pokemons, and you can browse through them, you can page them, there's a page in there, you can search, so you can, and you can also filter and sort rows and even move the rows. I only want to see row 2, 5, and 7, or everything. And so it's a nice tool if you're in a pickle and you don't want to start up Excel, because you then would have to start your Windows virtual machine first because you're using a proper operating system and so on and so forth. So it's a handy tool. There's another question.
I can also recommend the boring data tool for, I think it also does CSV, but Parquet and things like that, although you do have to write a SQL type thing instead of the nice terminal UI, but yeah, still useful.
If you're into SQL, wait a few minutes, I have something for you. But is it written in Rust? Yes. Okay, awesome, thank you. I missed that one. Switching from CSV to, if something doesn't work in the network, what's the usual culprit? If it's not a broken cable, it's DNS, exactly. So what do you do if you have to work with DNS? You use dog. Dog is like dig. So again, sorry for the cat people, I'm a dog person, so again, it's a Rust tool, so it has colorful output. It understands normal command line argument syntax. It supports DNS over TLS, DNS over HTTPS, and it can emit JSON. Again, for our younger colleagues, it's a nice feature. Looks like this, again, colorful, a lot of colors, so even those Quad A records don't sound too scary for the older guys that still don't only know legacy IP. It's good. Talking of, yeah, sorry, there's a question over there. Now I'm afraid.
Dog looks like a really cool tool. Does it fix Cloudflare problem? If you write like dog any, does it convert it to all the any's and actually get you the result?
I'm not sure, I would assume so, but let's find out afterwards over a beer. There was someone with a kink for SQL and SQL syntax, which is fine. No kink shaming here. Your kink is not my kink, but your kink is okay. It's Squeal, yeah, Squeal is also, yeah. So what do you do if you're really into SQL, but you have to search for a file? Yeah, you have to work with find or FD. There's a solution for you called fselect, where you can use a SQL syntax to search for files on your hard disk. Yeah, just I'll let that sit for a second. Yes, it's as bad as it sounds. So it uses a SQL-like grammar, easily understandable by humans. You don't have seen the SQL statements I have seen.
Does this thing support joins for your
Yes.
file system?
Yes.
Oh God.
And it also supports like sum and other aggregate functions and stuff like that. Yes, it's as bad as it sounds. And it also searches within zip archives, so if you have one of those zip bombs lying around, don't use this. And again, if you're into this, so if you're looking for temporary or config files, fselect, that's the fselect in the first line. And as I said before, you have min, max, average, sum and count as well. So if you're really into that, yeah. Again, it's not really my thing, but it's there. It's out there. Apparently, there are people who really need this. I already mentioned JQ. So if you don't know JQ is a command line tool to parse JSON files and get meaningful out. No, I'll take that back. It's a tool to parse JSON files. Let's keep it at that. Of course, there are other data formats. One of the most common data formats is HTML. Yes, HTML is also a data format. So we have HTML-Q, which is like JQ, but for HTML, and you can use CSS selectors to extract bits out of the HTML. So you don't have to use regular expressions to parse HTML files. Please don't do that. Seriously. I had hair when I tried that the last time. What does it look like? So here's a curl statement that gets the BalCCon homepage, and we pipe that to HTML-Q to get all the links on that page output on the command line. It's a nice feature. You can also use HTML-Q to get the body of an HTML, and then pipe that further onto BUT. If you remember, we covered BUT at the beginning of the talk, to get a nicely outputted, colorful HTML source code of your homepage, which is nice. Now we're getting really into the obscure stuff. A lot of the Rust stuff, I already covered it with the file tools, is written for modern PCs or modern machines, let's put it that way, with multi-core CPUs, lots of memory, parallel I/O, etc. And of course, Rust can also utilize your GPU, because if you're not busy mining Bitcoin or training AI models, large language models, what else can the GPU do? So actually there is Inline, which is a GPU-powered browserless Markdown and HTML viewer. For the command line, yes. And it can even monitor your Markdown file. So if you save your Markdown file, it will automatically re-render your Markdown and show it to you using the GPU. So your CPU can do something else. If you're on Windows, your CPU is used by Windows, so it doesn't matter. Looks like that, so it looks really nice. Opens a window and gives you the Markdown output as a nicely rendered page. Which one of you is into IT security? Because we, yeah, a few people. Kirilis, you didn't raise your hand. So usually in IT security, what you do, one of the things, at least I noticed, is you also have to handle large word lists, right? You want to see if there's a password reused, etc., etc. There's actually a really nice Rust-based tool to handle word lists, which is called Tidy. It's a command line tool to combine and clean up a large word list. So it will filter out duplicates, it will filter out empty lines, it will filter out other stuff. It will do give me all lowercase words, remove all words that have an integer in them. It will remove white space from the beginning and the end of a line, etc., without giving it extra parameters. So it's a really nice tool. And it can also combine multiple word lists into one, removing duplicates, etc. So it's a nice tool, easy interface, and even does things like sort, so you don't have to pipe it to sort or unique, etc. And it's a Rust tool, so it's written for modern CPUs, and it's really fast and useful. So if you're into IT security, that's probably one tool you want to look into. One of the more obscure tools, but once you get your head around it, it's a really cool tool, is set. Set, or you have to pronounce this like a German. Right? It's like set, Z, pronounced by a German, say set. And it does set operations on files. So I read this the first time, I'm like, what do they mean? I have no clue what they mean. I read on, I was like, okay, that looks interesting, but what does it actually do? Well, what it actually does is, so set union x, y, z outputs all the lines that occur in any of x, y, or z. Intersect, set intersect outputs the line that only occur in both X, Y, and Z file. So it basically, it merges or filters multiple text files for unique things, for unique lines. So diff XYZ outputs lines that occur in X but not in Y or Z. So otherwise you have to compare two files and then the results that you have to compile with the third file. With this, you can do it in one go. And again, it's parallelized so it sounds completely bonkers, but it's actually a very nice, useful tool if you have to somehow merge or filter or combine multiple files. Or set single really gives you files that only exist exactly once in X, Y, or Z. So again, otherwise you would have to do grep and search and sort and unique. But it takes a little bit more brain power to get around this. But it's a cool tool. I'm almost done, so bear with me. There's YASI, which actually means stuck. It's a terminal file manager based on non-blocking asynchronous I/O. So basically, again, the JavaScript developers have taken over the world. And it's actually nice. So it has inline scrollable previews of files on the command line, which is nice. It has visual mode select and rename, so you can select multiple files and rename them with an expression. And it also has integration with FFZ. So FFZ, if you haven't used FZF, take a look at that. It's not Rust-based, but you really want that. So if you're looking for a file manager, that's YASI is the one to look at. Question? Yes, sir.
Does the image preview also work with Alacrity? Because I checked
sorry. So let's move back to the microphone. I haven't tested this with Alacrity.
Okay.
Just try no.
Okay. Thanks.
So the answer is no. Thanks for testing. Almost there. We already talked about curl, and we all know and love curl or wget or HTTPy. I presented HTTPy in one of my earlier talks. There's also a Rust implementation of HTTPy, which is called XH. It's basically a tool for sending HTTP or HTTPS requests focused on the output, so focused on what the server sends you back, and rendering that in a nice way. And of course, the Rust implementation is focused on performance. What does it look like? You send a GET request, and you get the nice structured output. You want to download something, you get a nice progress bar, which is also always appreciated. And you always get the server headers back, so it's a nice thing. Talking about it, the name already came up. So of course there's Alacrity. It's a fast cross-platform OpenGL terminal emulator. Personally, I haven't understood the allure of that. But apparently, could you move the microphone over there? Apparently, there are benefits. It's using the GPU. It has VI mode bindings, so that's something I approve of. It's using OpenGL, so it's fast and probably, but you use it so.
So, you know, when you run a command that prints a lot of output, it's usually bottlenecked by your terminal. So the speed of your command will be bottlenecked by your terminal. With Alacrity being faster, programs will actually run faster once they fill up the buffer. So yeah, there is the benefit of faster terminals.
The alternative would be to pipe the output, redirect the output to def null, and But yeah, I still have to play around with that. I haven't gotten around, but it's out there. Yeah, I mean, what do you want to show about yeah. Who here? So who's still on Bash? Who's using Bash? Z-Shell? My people. Fish? There's always one, yeah, or two in this case. If you work, everyone here working on the command line for quite a bit each day, right? So you probably have some sort of command line tuning prompt. You probably have nice prompts with a little bit of design showing you the GitHub state, the Git status or whatever. There's also a Rust solution for that. So if you want to look into that, there's Starship, which is a customizational and a fast prompt for the shell. It needs a nerd font installed, which all of these tools need. But otherwise, it's rather unintrusive in regards to what you have to change and modify. And it looks really nice, so it gives you green and red if the command executed successfully or not. It will show you your Git status. If you git add something, you will have the plus, and if you git commit, the plus is again gone. So it's a nice tool if you're into visual, if you're into Visual Candy on the command line, take a look at that. So to summarize, what do these Rust commands have in common? They respect hidden files. They respect git ignore rules by default. They have sane, sometimes opinionated defaults. They are colorful. Every tool basically does color because it's 2024. We're not back at monochrome screens, and they are fast. If you liked at least one of these tools, this is of course was not created in a vacuum. This is all based on somebody else's work, as we all do. All our work is based on somebody else's work. So these are more links for you. The slides will be up on my homepage as well as the conference homepage. These are way more tools than I can fit into 2 hours. We can probably spend a whole day talking about Rust-based command line tools because there is someone out there with too much time on its hands re-implementing one of the GNU tools in Rust, which is cool, but yeah. So take a look at these. If you're into editors, I didn't want to get into the whole editor thing because there's one editor that's called VI and everything else is just, again, opinionated. But there's a whole page on the battle of the text editors that were written in Rust. So if you're into, grab some popcorn, read that, it's fun. And with that, I say thank you very much, and I'm open for questions. Yes.
So 2 more things. One for Electricity. One more benefit is it supports full true color, if you care about that. But if you use these fancy tools, then you just might. And number 2, there is a new set of core utils, like the old GNU core utils being rewritten in Rust, called utils. They are not quite yet at the core utils compatibility, but they're getting there quickly. So yeah, it might replace your core utils soon.
So that's my talk next year or the year after.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to be compatible one
Yeah.
for one, so it's not going to be fancy, but faster and nicer. Yeah.
And Rust and more secure, hopefully, and yeah.
And colorful.
What else? What else did I miss? What else? Yes, over there.
So I think you missed new shell, which is a shell written in Rust. It's not POSIX compliant. It looks like PowerShell. It treats everything as structured input. So you can pipe things as structured things.
May I ask you to do a talk on that next year? Because I would be really interested in that. Because I still have problems with these PowerShell-ish tools, so I would be really interested in getting more information on that. But thank you. I mean, as I said before, there are tons of tools out there, and I'm biased. I wanted the Unix-based, but it's an interesting concept. Please do a talk on that at some point in time.
Sure.
So my personal experience with these type of tools is usually I find something, think it's cool and or useful, maybe install it and then forget about it the next day. So the question is, have you attempted and or succeeded in implementing any of these in your workflow?
As I said before, yes, some of them yes, some of them don't, no. What usually helps for me is I set an alias so I don't have to think about it because I'm lazy, I don't want to think. I'm not getting paid to think, so no. Usually for easy, I have an alias, so ls, if I type ls, it's actually using easy on the machines I control. Ripgrep I use if I'm aware of, okay, this is a lot of data, I'm explicitly using ripgrep. Maybe I haven't made this more prominent at the beginning of the talk. The point of this talk is not to get you to replace every tool you use with one of the tools I presented or with one of the tools that you will find in the list. I just want you to be aware that there are other tools out there, and if you find yourself sitting at a command line thinking, this is taking ages, why doesn't this work faster, run faster? Think about this talk, so, maybe there is a tool out there that can actually do the work in half the time, like ripgrep. Yeah? I think I have presented over 160 modern command line tools that are a replacement for one of the others. Some of them I incorporated into my workflow, usually through aliases, as I said before. And you don't have to. It's an option. If you find it useful, you will use it. If you don't find it useful, you will not use it. HTTP I used quite a lot when I had to do a lot of work with HTTP requests to a server where I had to figure something out. That was quite useful because of the syntax highlighting and everything. But once I was done with that job, I haven't touched it for a year now, which is fine for me. But I mean, we are probably getting there once the core tools are implemented in Rust. If you can really switch them out one for one, it's easy. My problem is I have to work on customer systems where I'm not allowed to install these tools. So I'm stuck with the old tools. But on my personal machine, I have most of them installed. Some of them I use regularly, some of them I use once a year, once a month. Figure out what works for you. I can't tell you replace ls with exe. Maybe you need something else. One of the tools I find indispensable is not Rust-based, it's FZF. I don't want to use a command line or VI without FZF ever. For me, it's part of my workflow. But again, maybe for you it's something else. Some people swear by the tools like set of these directory jump things where they remember where you have been and let you navigate there easily. For me, I don't need that. I have my bash history. I go up. Feels more productive. If you get paid by keyboard clicks, that's the way to do it. Sorry, I don't have a definitive answer on your question. Or did I evade your question too much, or is it okay?
No. You elaborated a lot on it.
Yeah, sorry. Once you get me started talking, I'll never stop. We have a question over there. Please let somebody else talk.
You can integrate FZF into your shell and Control-R becomes...
Yes.
Yeah.
This is so awesome.
Yeah,
if you haven't done it, that is one of the things. It's not Rust-based, that's why I haven't... Maybe I should do a talk on what I actually use of the stuff I presented, yeah. But FZF integrated in the command line is a game changer. It's so awesome.
And also if you want to force yourself using one of these tools, but they're not compatible one-to-one, so you don't want to set an alias for that tool, you can set an alias for echo, use that other command, you dingus, and yeah, that'll remind you.
That's how I learned the VI key bindings for moving the cursor. I just disabled the cursor keys in VI, so it was a pain for a week, but after that. Anything else? Otherwise, I will be around for the rest of the conference. You will probably find me at the bar. If there are no further questions, I would once more say thank you very much and enjoy this year's BalCCon.